Sir, if I might start this discussion rolling, what really prevents the government of India from taking this up, the conversion of the line of control into an international border? What prevents the government of India from making this a position, a formal position? Is it tactical or is it something else?
I cannot speak for Government of India. There are ex-foreign secretaries here who probably could have spoken for the position Government of India holds. But I think many believe that if Government of India probably would take this position, it would weaken its stand vis-à-vis discussions with Pakistan. Also, they feel that the Parliament took a decision that entire Jammu and Kashmir is ours and we shall take it. I have been waiting for those years since that resolution was passed. When are we going to take that over? We couldn't even cross the line of control when we had to. You will not believe the anguish I had at that time, that here is an opportunity. Blow them up. Let's go. Mar jayenge to mar jayenge, bach jayenge to bach jayenge, magar jao. They said, ye jang chahta hai. I am not the one who wanted war, but when it is thrust on you, America couldn't wait. They came, I don't know how many, I think to England it's about 7,000 kilometers, I travel quite often. But to America must be another few thousand kilometers. They could come all those 1,000 kilometers. We couldn't cross 40 kilometers. Can you imagine? Because our political leadership was under pressure from the world. The army was ready to go. I could see it. Because I lived there. I live with them. But their hands were tied at the back. That yes, you're ready, but you will not go. There are certain things I cannot tell you. I would love to tell you, but I can't. Under the Secrecy Act, I cannot say it. But otherwise, I would really say it, and you would jump from your chairs. But I don't want to say it. That was my feeling at that time, that they came. They're inside our bloody territory. In Kargil, there is a place where their bunkers are able to shoot on our road, which goes to Kargil. Kaksar is the place. I said, all right, if you don't want to take anything else, for God's sake, take that. Because they're anyway telling you that McMahon line we don't recognize. So when they don't recognize, whose father has told us to recognize it? We go. And you say, well, you didn't recognize it? Well, this is the line now. Because in our saying, there is a saying in our language, jiski lathi, uski bhans. That is, whoever has the stick, the cow belongs to the person who has the stick. Like the Americans, they have the stick and they bloody well used it. Forgive her my language. Please, ladies, you will forgive me for saying so, because I'm very abrupt and straight. I'm a doctor, not a politician. Therefore, doctors tell you very clearly about it. I would have said, chalo. Magar mujhe wo kahe, nahi ji, we cannot do this. We have international commitments. We are like this, like that, all these commitments. Then what the hell are we here for? If commitments are to get us shot off in Kashmir, then fine, tell us finally and well and truly, you have to die and you better be ready. Then we are ready for it. But you are telling us, no. We don't want you to die, but we want you to breathe. How do you breathe when the guns are booming at you and you can't even move? I went to some of the border posts. You will not believe, I swear to you, they were in our trenches that we had dug for our forces, that we leave in the winter and say, well, nobody is going to come here, not knowing that those fellows are already in our trenches. But we held our hand back. How much do you want us to hold our hand back? I beg of you, just tell me. How much? How long?
I'm Shekhar Gupta. I edit the Indian Express. Shobhan, first to your question, I think we oversimplify the issue when we say why doesn't government of India say line of control is an acceptable position? Because no government in such a complex situation can give away its negotiating position. After that, once we say that, what are we negotiating for? Second, there's a history to it. The history is that the Shimla Accord had an implicit understanding that LOC will be the border, and either side will not make any claims across the LOC. We not only kept that commitment, we actually spent 30 years or maybe 27 years, convincing our population that POK was not a problem, that LOC was the border, we were happy with it. Our children were all brought up thinking there was no Kashmir problem. Until the Pakistanis raked it up again. For about 15 years after the Shimla Accord, they kept the promise, and then they changed it. Then they began talking about Kashmir, Kashmir, Kashmir. It's then that as an afterthought, Parliament was, I think, instigated to pass that unanimous 1997 resolution to remind the Pakistanis and the rest of the world that we have a negotiating position. It's not as if we've given up what we've given up, and you can come and take what else remains with us. So that's one aspect. The other, Dr. Abdullah, let me differ with you on the tactical aspects of not crossing the LOC in Kargil. I'm not a soldier, but as you know soldiers, so do I. And sometimes I tell you the truth, oftentimes they tell me the truth as well. The fact that you did not cross the LOC made it impossible for the Pakistanis to fight you with full force in Kargil. Let me explain it to you. We could use our air force, the Pakistanis could not use their air force because they had to keep the same facade of not crossing the LOC. Because the Pakistanis could not use their air force, and General Malik is in the audience.
Who did not use what?
Their air force. General Malik's in the audience, so he'll endorse it to you later, I suspect. Only because the Pakistanis could not use their air force, you could line up 300 artillery guns on one highway. If you had crossed only at Kaksar and Pakistanis were able to send just 4 MiG-19s this side or F-7 PGs or whatever, your whole strategy of using massed artillery, which has reduced the altitude of some of those mountain tops by 10 feet, 15 feet, would have gone because you would not have exposed half the Bofors guns in your artillery like that. So I think this was a smart move, and I think we should not assess these things entirely emotionally. Why didn't we go across? Why didn't we take Kaksar? I'm sure General Malik wanted to do it at some point of time, but in retrospect, we did all right.
I'd like to tell you one thing. When you say Pakistan did not use its air force, don't think Pakistan was not going to use its air force. It was the pressure of Clinton. On whose pressure? Pakistan did not move any further. Rather, Pakistan asked for 10 days or 14 days to be given to the Indian army so that, to the Pakistani army so they could pull back. So do not forget that it was the pressure and otherwise, when they had already intruded into our space, they were already in our part of the Kashmir, not their part of Kashmir. We did not move. We did not go into their territory when we could have gone. That was because we held back, even after losing a number of young people. And I've seen those hills, and I wish you see those hills, where those young, brave people, knowing fully well that they're climbing onto Tiger Hill like this, with not a tree to hide them, not a stone to hide them. And they were climbing like this, or in Batalik area, when they were sitting in that saddle-shaped thing, and our soldiers were climbing and being shot from top. You should have seen the plight of our people and our guns. I think our guns would have still boomed, even if Pakistani Air Force will. Don't underestimate your own Air Force. Your Air Force is quite powerful enough to beat Pakistan. Anytime, anytime.
Firstly, let me say that the decision not to cross the line of control was a political decision.
Was a political decision.
Yeah. And perhaps it was justified. I may not agree with, Dr. Abdullah may not agree with that decision, that's a different part. As far as we were concerned, the soldiers were concerned, we followed the political decision as given to us. But Dr. Abdullah said that, in fact, Swapn, you said, that Shekhar Gupta, he said that because we were fighting on our side of line of control, we could easily use our air force and our artillery. Let me mention that to you, that we were fully prepared to cross the line of control if we were forced to do that. We had the capability and we were prepared for that. In fact, I think the strategy which helped us to keep it limited, it worked because we were fully prepared. and they knew it that we could cross that line of control or the international border if there was a need. We had an objective, and since we were able to achieve that objective without having to cross the line of control and international border, so it served our purpose. But I do not agree with the Shaker when he said that because of that alone, we were able to use our Air Force on our side, and we were able to use our artillery in a mass situation. We had that capability even at that time. In fact, I don't think the Pakistanis were prepared for that on any other front. Thank you.
My name is Ishan Raina, and that will tell you where my question is coming from, Dr. Abdullah. This is nothing about the line of control. It's not about Indo-Pak strategy. I have a fundamental question, which is in the land of Kheer Bhavani, in the land of Shaivism, which is 5,000 years old, in the land of Shankaracharya, and your family's secular credentials being without doubt established from your father's time, how is it that you don't have a strategy to ensure that Kashmir becomes secular again? And there is no strategy for Kashmir, for the Indian part of Kashmir being secular again. I've raised this with people from the government of India. They don't have a clue. You've shed tears about the Kashmiri Pandits, but you don't have a clue. So if nobody has a clue, then what happens to these 300, 400,000 people who've been there for 5,000 years?
Yes, yes. Now, I like to tell you, first of all, I did not agree with the decision of the government at that time who moved them out. For Muslims were also being killed. Few of them were also dead before they were moved. And the assurance given to them at that stage was that we're moving you out because the pressure will grow here and therefore we'll bring you back. 12 years, we have not been able to take them back. Why? Because we have not been able to control terrorism. The line of control is still permeable. The Lashkar-e-Toiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Harkatul Ansar, and people from as far as Sudan and Somalia and so many countries, they were trained and sent in to kill our people. Otherwise, we were ready at that time when Prime Minister was here, a new government has set up, and I had also come in. We were ready to take Pandits back. But as I told you, they've killed them, and therefore, since then, never has a situation arisen whereby we can safely say that we are on top of them terrorists. He's still, I mean, you saw what happened on the 1st of October. You noticed that with all the security we have, they still are operating. They're operating everywhere. They were operating here in Delhi. So under such circumstances, unless Pakistan stops, now they say, his phrase is political support, moral support, and some other support, third thing. Diplomatic. And diplomatic support. Now, three things he says. Now, political support, diplomatic support, moral support, and what about this support? What about those training camps? If literally I'm telling you, and to you, sir, I say, the day Musharraf really means to control these terrorist groups, because the army, I'm sorry to tell you, there are 3 A's for Pakistan: Allah, Army, and America. And if these 3 A's really work, inshallah, the crossing of border will stop. The question is, these 3 have to meet and evolve a strategy. And that strategy will help us. And thus peace will emerge. And not only those Kashmiri Pandits, but many of the Muslims who are still also in Jammu and other places who can't go because they'll be shot off. They either belong to Congress, National Conference, CPI, CPM, and all other Indian national parties who have terrible time in their own village.
I join issue with you about your remark that we have never formally talked about the line of control with Pakistan. Under instructions from the VP Singh government, my predecessor, the then Foreign Secretary of India, Mr. Muchkund Dubey, and I was present during this meeting, he formally mentioned the suggestion of the LOC to Benazir Bhutto. And her response was, much water has flown down the Jhelum and the Ganges, it is no longer relevant. I myself, as Foreign Secretary, was authorized by the then Prime Minister, Mr. Narasimha Rao, to repeat the suggestion to Nawaz Sharif and to Benazir Bhutto twice during my tenure of 2.5 years as Foreign Secretary. And they said no, what we would prefer is a trifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir. And I was authorized to totally reject such ideas. And you are right when you said that the Americans are tacitly agreeable to this idea. I have had interactions when I was Foreign Secretary and later with very senior think tank representatives who are willing to accept this. But the only lacunae which I am ready to accept, we have not publicly announced this stance of ours, because it is not necessary, because any of us who have read the memoirs of Mr. P. N. Dhar, who was the Principal Secretary to Mrs. Gandhi, who wrote about the details of the Simla Agreement, there was a complete commitment by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto that the LOC should be a practical solution, and therefore what the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir says is absolutely valid. But the point is that Pakistan feels that we are vulnerable and we are capable of, we are willing to compromise. That is the basic point, and that is something which we should disabuse the Pakistanis of. The second point about the Kargil thing, I was at that point of time in the smaller group organized by the Government of India to give perhaps sidekick advice to the Government of India on the operations in Kargil. And I can tell you that it was the unanimous advice of the National Security Advisory Board to cross the line of control. And this included an army chief, an air chief. But for broader political considerations, the non-governmental defunct bureaucrats and army officers were overruled, and whatever happened, happened. And I think General Ved Malik has given an explanation of why it has happened. But the only sort of, with the benefit of hindsight, the conclusion I come to is that there is no substitute for decisive action when national security is involved. Thank you.
Well, before
And also, I would like to also inform our ex-Foreign Secretary. In 1974, I went to Pakistan. Just some time before, Mrs. Gandhi and Bhutto had already signed Shimla Agreement. And before I was ushered in to see Bhutto, his secretary, I believe he's coming here, he was supposed to come, Yusuf Bacho, somebody was telling me that he's coming here. I sat in his office before I was taken to his house. And he tells me that they have returned from Delhi and Shimla, and already we have decided that that is India and this is Pakistan. I said to him, really? Is that what you have already finalized? He said, yes, this has been finalized in Shimla, and we are working on this. When I was taken to Bhutto's house, and it was end of April, May, and you can imagine what Islamabad's heat can be like as in Delhi. Instead of talking to me in the room, he took me to the garden and spoke to me under a tree. And I said, my God, I have to sit in this heat when there is his house is air conditioned. What the hell for? So I asked him, I said, Your Excellency, in my own language, I said to him, why are we sitting here in this heat? He said, I cannot trust my walls. That was the fear in him. I wish that secretary you would invite, who was his secretary, and I would confront him that at that time it was decided, but the powers that were did not play the card as was expected.
Mr. Farooq Abdullah, you are a leading public figure of the country, the top leader of Kashmir for close to 20 years. You have seen the obsession of Pakistan with Kashmir, both in terms of elected leaders and military establishment. There is a qualitative metamorphosis in the whole psyche of military establishment in Pakistan over the years. Now, my very direct question to you is, what is the ultimate solution to the Kashmir problem vis-à-vis Pakistan?
The ultimate solution is, this is India, that is Pakistan. And whatever sacrifice we have to make, diplomatic first, all diplomatic moves must be made so that the world knows that before we really strike, that finally we may have to, that world must be told, as I have repeatedly said this, and I told Rajiv Gandhi years ago, I wish he had listened to me. The mother became Durga. After Bangladesh, he would have probably become Shankar. But he didn't listen to me. I told him then, I said, why the hell don't you blast those camps? You got these Mirage 2000 had come, these French wonderful aircrafts, and they were going up like this and turning round. And I saw that superpower of our Air Force in Faridabad with these Mirages, and at that time they didn't have Sukhoi. They had this MiG-29 precision bombing. I said, my God, if you have such precision bombing, why the hell can't we bomb precision like the Americans went all the way from British bases in Suffolk? They went all the way, got fueled in the middle of the air, and then they bombed Libya, if you remember, in which Gaddafi lost his daughter. And then the President of America said, like he said, the present one, you're either with the terrorists or you're with us. You choose. I think what we should have done at that time, use this Mirage and this 29, bomb that one or two camps. The bombs may have gone stray, but the message would have been sent to the world, we mean business, that we mean what we say. And that is what I say today. Keep your diplomatic options open, talk to the world and say, enough is enough. Now you tell Pakistan to hold back. If they don't, then I will tell General there sitting, then sir, you have to march. If I was the Defense Minister or Prime Minister of India, I will not wait. I swear to you, I would just march, and I would not sit on 7th Akbar Road. I would be sitting in a military camp with my general and say, chalo. Otherwise, my Defense Minister is every day in Sechan. Honestly, I tell you. I saw him the other day when he came to Kashmir with the Japanese very important leader of Japan. And he was wearing just a kurta and a pajama, and I was with the overcoat and everything. I said, George, does this show your warmth, that you are really warm and that you are rearing to go? He said, well, you can guess yourself. I said, well, I hope my guess is right, that our troops are as warm as you are and that you are going to march ahead. And I hope so. That while we use all diplomatic options, to you, sir, I say, for peace. For peace is the most important factor if the world has to survive. Because they've also got nuclear capability, and you just need a fool there who will press the button. He wouldn't mind at that time. And that is one of the fears, sir. I would like to put it to the Western diplomats. In particular, I would like to tell them, beware. I warn you today. Beware of this bomb, that it may not get into the hands of people who will not hear reason. who will not see reason. And God forbid if it gets into one of those hands. And I kept on telling them, none of you woke up. Farooq Abdullah, stupid fool, plays golf, loves the good things of life. What is it? And therefore, how does it matter if he's saying this thing? If you people had listened to me and to the rest of us, probably 11th September wouldn't have happened. But still there is time now. Wake up. Watch that atom bomb. I have held flags, India, Chini, bye bye. I was myself in front of the Chou and Lai thing. I was also waving the flag till they nearly captured half of my country. And the flag is still in my room. But we forgot that. For we said we want to live with friends with you, and I'm glad Rajiv Gandhi went. And I'm glad, I must tell you here, none of you know. Edward Heath came from China, and he visited Kashmir. He was then ex-Prime Minister of Britain. And he said to me, he said, Farooq, China is ready for India. China wants to start a new leaf. Would the Prime Minister listen? I said, yes. I wonder whether one of our foreign secretaries, who must have been in a most important position at that time, could enlighten someday this House or India. And I think he came and told Rajiv Gandhi that time has come that you make overtures to China. And I hope the new leaf we have turned will work. I hope that better relationship will come. If it can happen with China, why not with Pakistan? I hope that Pakistan also does something like that. Forgets the border problems and does open channels of communication. That would be a great start. And please do not think. And last thing I'd like to tell you people, off the thing, I want to ask you to praise a beautiful thing. If you see a rose and you call a rose without plucking it, is it bad? If you see a beautiful woman and you say you're beautiful, does it necessarily have to be that there is some other motive that this man has? I like to tell you, please be like the French. Enjoy it while you can. And don't criticize. For those of you who God has given the charms of doing it, don't stop the others and say it's sour grapes. I want Indians to live. I want them to live as free people. I want them to love like the French love. I want like the Italians pinch the bottom. At least they have a laugh. We are guided by so many missed things. Farooq Abdullah took an actress on the motorbike. That has never left me. I think to my dying day, I shall put an epitaph on my thing. That he lived the way he wanted to. And he did not harm anyone, but shared his love with everyone that passed his way. Thank you.